Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see your names and your faces today. And welcome to the Sunday Sangha. My name is Djuna Devereaux. And today I want to bring in an exploration of the 5 hindrances from a slightly, possibly different perspective, from a somatic perspective. Beginning with the teaching of Ajahn Chah, he said, don't be in a hurry to get rid of the hindrances. Read the book of your heart. And he was speaking to Westerners who were coming to practice that were really wanting to reach samadhi, to gain enlightenment and attain a gathered mind. And so today we'll be looking at possibly what are the underlying sources of the hindrances, which are desire, aversion, dullness, restlessness, and doubt. Maybe you've had one or more of these already today. I think I've had all 5, experienced all 5. But before we go into that investigation, we'll do some chanting. We'll sit together. And in the meditation, I'll give a little bit of guidance at the beginning, a little bit of guidance in the middle, very short, something at the end, but there will be a lot of silence. So if for your nervous system that's helpful to know that someone won't be talking through the whole meditation, there it is. And the meditation will be about 20 minutes. So let's go into our chanting practice, and I'll put the chanting booklet into the chat, and then I'll also share my screen so that you can see it. But we're going to begin at the top of page 3 with Namo Tassa. And let's see, my friend Carolyn, can you see that? The shared screen? Great, thank you so much. So beginning with top of page 3, and then we'll chant the refuges, Iti Piso on page 4. From there we'll chant about the 4 Brahma Viharas on page 8, and we'll finish with the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. And page 4, Iti Piso. Recollection of the triple jewel, the qualities of refuge. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sata devamanusanam buddho Bhagavati Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko akaliko opanaiko paehipasiko opanaiko pachatang veditabo vinyuhiti supatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Ujupatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Nayapatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Samicipatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Yadidang chatari purisa yugania tapurisa pugala esa bhagavato sawaka sangho ahunayo pahunayo dakinayo anjali karaniyo Anuttaram punya ketang lokasati. And on page 8, the 4 boundless qualities. And when I chant this, I like to sense this in an embodied way. So this is really describing this radiating nature of the boundless qualities of metta, of kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So there's a sense of radiating 1/4, meaning to the front, to the side, to the back, and to the other side. Now let us make the 4 boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with compassion. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with gladness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. And then the heart mantra of Kuan Yin, Avalokiteshvara, reminding us to, when we feel caught up, when we feel imbalanced, when we feel out of our center, to return to the heart, to read the book of the heart. So number 5 under mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 So I'll stop my share and welcome if you've just joined us. It's really good to be here, to be together. Again, my name's Djuna Devereaux, and we'll have some time now for sitting, and that will be followed by a Dharma talk. And then at the top of the hour, you can either go on about your day, or you can stay and share any questions or responses that you might have to our session today. As we go into the sitting, I want to encourage you just to take a moment to sense into what your body might need right now. So there might be some impulse to stretch and to take up space. You might want to look away from your screen as I'm doing, and just take a few moments to look around you. There might be, as you bring awareness to your body, a more comfortable way of holding your body, whether that means giving yourself more height under your pelvis, or some support for your spine, or just sitting more upright. You might feel like you want to lie down, which is always welcome as well, or stand or walk. And as much as you can, releasing out of this cognitive sense of the way the meditation should be, the way the body should be in the meditation. allowing yourself to sense into how is the body now. Sometimes just that moment of noticing the body, we might also notice the ground, the earth beneath us, and the truth of being held by the earth, by the gravitational pull that might in and of itself allow for the body to release some of the holding, the momentum or bracing accumulated through any daily human life. And with a receptivity to the body and to the heart, it can be skillful to take some longer, deeper breaths or to modify the breath, breathing the whole body. And if the breath is not available, you might have the sense of the earth itself breathing. This body as nature being breathed by the world around you, the ground beneath you. However the body is now or the mind is now is natural, is okay, is also conditioned. So we don't have to make a mind state go away or manifest. For today, it might be just enough to keep bringing awareness to the body with this question, what does the body need? Bringing awareness to the heart mind. What is needed in this moment to meet what's present? How is it to hold your experience with an unconditional kindness, with a commitment not to abandon oneself? Just for now, this unconditional kindness, compassion, sense of softness or gentleness towards our inner experience. And if the mind is gathered and peaceful, it might be a moment of appreciation for the gift, the arising of peace. And if there's some struggle in the body, the mind, the heart, some wanting or not wanting, maybe not quite being here, some anxiety or doubt, decision making, planning. This is natural. This is the fruit of our practice. As we slow down, these hindrances often arise to be known, to be processed, to be learned from. And how is it just for now to be receptive to what's happening in the body and to breathe the whole body, allowing this receptivity to be infused with kindness, with compassion. This is how it is to be a human being. in the last few minutes of our sitting. Again, if there's peacefulness, appreciating peace. If there's vulnerability, if there's struggle, if there's disquiet in the mind, heart, in the body, how is it to sense yourself and your practice as part of the Sangha? This practice is inherently relational. And whatever's arising for you, you're not alone. It's also arising for someone else at this time. As we come out of the sit, you might wish to take some time to stretch, to get a drink of water, to move your body, to look out the window, if you have a window, or to look into the distance, letting your system release from the sense of needing to look into a screen. So, as I said in the beginning, today I wanted to share a bit about the 5 hindrances, which again are classically described as desire, aversion, dullness, or sloth and torpor, which is kind of a fun words, and also restlessness and doubt. And this teaching by Ajahn Chah that he shared with his Western disciples who were really striving for enlightenment, striving for a quiet, gathered mind, to actually turn toward the hindrances as teachers. So he said, don't be in a hurry to get rid of the hindrances. Read the book of the heart. And today I wanted to share a little bit from a teaching that Thanissara gave a couple of years ago, and then also share some of my experience with the hindrances based on my work as a somatic experiencing practitioner and as an embodiment teacher, the ways that I get curious about these energies that arise in the body, in the mind, and in the heart. And so a couple of years ago, during the Awakening the Heart year-long course that some of you might have attended, there was a Q&A with Chinesra and Kitty Saro. And someone had asked a question about the hindrances, the energy, and really the positive aspects of the hindrances. And Chinesra just kind of looked away from this camera and gave this download on the hindrances that I'd never heard before. And many of us, I could kind of see jaws dropping on the Zoom screen. I think for many of us, it was very profound, or I know it was. So really what she was sharing was some of the essences, this movement of the hindrances as evolutionary impulses, actually as impulses to evolve, to transmute energies that are challenging and that keep us from really being present, being connected, being fully in our lives. And that, again, the hindrances are like these impulses driving us towards that awakening. And so that each hindrance is an opportunity, a very specific kind of energetic opportunity to awaken. And so I'll be sharing a little bit about what she shared, but also the way that I experience the hindrances. To share a little bit generally about these energies, first of all, is that they're not personal. That the Buddha named them, right? This was thousands of years ago, that the Buddha really named and gathered these energies of struggle into these 5 categories. And what he said is that this is actually the fruit of the practice, that as we slow down, as we release some of the external distractions and engagements of our lives, what is underneath the surface wants to be known. So it rises to the surface. And these natural energies that occur in all of us will start to predominate. So that the arising of the hindrances is actually, in a way, the fruit of the practice. And we can view it that way. And that each hindrance, as I said, is an evolutionary impulse. So there's something that wants to evolve or to be known or to be transmuted. And the way I experience these is that these are actually survival responses, responses in the nervous system, like a fight response or a flight response, a need for a boundary, a need for greater safety, a need for less stimulation. We live, as we know, in a world where we're radically overstimulated, and as Sebene Selassie says, and under-sensualized, right? We're not so much in our bodies, we're overwhelmed with a cognitive stimulation. And so these underlying survival responses towards safety, towards protection, towards greater connection, whether that's human connection or connection with nature, connection with the animal world, connection with our ancestors. These are all human needs that are often not met in the world that we live in, or they haven't been met in our childhood. And so that we can start to feel into the somatic energy of the hindrance, that whatever is arising in the mind is part of an ecosystem that has again, a nervous system component. It has a component of our conditioning, our ancestry, the communities we live in, the political situation that we're embedded within, and so on. And we do have to have some stability to contemplate the hindrances and to have clarity around the hindrances. So this is the balance that Ajahn Chah and the Buddha spoke to, of shamatha, of the practice of gathering the mind and the body, the heart, calming and stabilizing, and then vipassana, actually looking into what is the nature of what's arising now. So if we try to just try to investigate the energy of the hindrances without any stability, we'll likely either rationalize our experience, suppress the experience, or get carried away by the experience. So very helpful in our daily lives to have these periods of calming, of gathering, of caring for our bodies, checking in, what does the body need, in order to facilitate the conditions for this clarity, this looking into and wise response. Ajahn Chah said to read the Book of the Heart. To me, this also speaks to the need, the human need, again, that might be unmet, whether that's in our, conditioning or in our present moment lives, for unconditional kindness, for unconditional gentleness, for unconditional compassion, for a sense of being held, for a sense of being met, of being accepted, a sense of belonging. And that part of the spiritual path is to rebalance that, is to cultivate metta, is to cultivate the four boundless qualities as we chant it. And I think this is, for me, this is lifelong. It's not like, we've cultivated them and then that work is done and we should already be here. I think that's ongoing. I think that's ongoing. And in this territory, I think it's so helpful again and again to return to the somatic, or the embodied experience. Somatic, soma, is a Greek word that means to experience the body in a process of change, which I love that definition because, again, when we go to the body, it's never the same, right? It's always changing, always shifting, and there's always some information there. So some sense of how is the body, how are we metabolizing, how are we experiencing the moment through the body, not through the cognitive frame or how it should be, or that we should just be able to be calm and so on, but actually truly, how is it now? So I'd like to look at each of the hindrances now, specifically, and as a survival response, as a nervous system response, and then also these teachings from Thanissara of this essence, this evolutionary essence of the hindrances. So the first hindrance is desire, this movement towards something, this movement towards wanting something that is external, to assuage or to appease or to fulfill. And that this might be, as I said before, an unmet need. That there might have been a time, or there might be in our current moment, when our need for safety, our need for even a basic need like a snack or a drink of water or a movement or being in the natural world hasn't been met. And so there's this constant movement towards something external to try to fulfill that need. And so in the meditative practice, we can sense into that, even before we sit down or whatever our practice is. What does this body need? Sometimes my body needs to shake before I sit down. Or I need to, as I've taught today, look out the window. So I'm not just being rigid with the eyes, with the gaze. I might need to rock back and forth, which I often do. It's a way of balancing an overwhelming emotional system. The limbic system is balanced when the vestibular system is engaged. Might need, again, to lie down, just to feel, oh, there's a ground beneath this body. I'm held. So that might be some of that survival impulse coming up as desire. And so again, we don't have to make it wrong. This is a natural response, but how can we care for it? So then there's more equilibrium in the nervous system. And in Tanistra's words, this essence of desire is this evolutionary impulse towards awakening, towards clarity, towards connection, towards a fullness of belonging, towards a fullness of being. That again, we try to grasp, that we try to find in an external source that is inherently impermanent, inherently unsatisfactory, inherently dukkha. And so when we feel this movement towards desire, again, we can bring that sense of reading the book of the heart. How can we go to refuge in this moment? How can we bring awareness to what's arising? Wisdom to what's arising. Ah, this is changing. Oh, this is not inherently self, right? Oh, this is also shared and conditioned through our experience. And aversion. So anger, aversion, frustration is part of our immune system. It's a part of our need for boundary and safety. And I think in this world, in this time that we're in, it's quite healthy. When we hear about genocide all over the world, and we've heard a lot about genocide in Gaza, it's a natural, it's a positive response to feel anger, to feel upset. If we hear about the destruction of an ecosystem, if we hear about someone who's taking advantage, that impulse towards a boundary, towards this is not okay, that is very healthy. I love this teaching from Prentice Hemphill that has gone viral, that boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and myself simultaneously. So when we actually feel that aversion, that anger, when we turn towards it and we care for ourselves, maybe we withdraw a little bit, or we sense, oh yes, this is healthy, but it needs to be transmuted into a wise response. And so that's that essence of anger that is this evolutionary impulse to digest the anger, to feel into its sensory dimension, to feel into what's needed, to feel into the heart that cares deeply and needs to respond to what is not okay. But that can also take the time to digest, to breathe with, so that when we don't act out of anger, because that's usually not helpful. So that anger can be digested and transmuted into wise response. The dullness, or the sloth and torpor. I feel like, and just to say, I think the anger is also, can be a bit of a fight response in the nervous system. The dullness, I think sometimes, again, is a way that when our systems are overwhelmed, we want to shut down. We want to absorb into something else. Like we just want to watch a show or look on social media. Sometimes that's skillful, just to let the system rest. But when we do have capacity in our practice to turn towards that kind of sleepy collapse energy, there might be something underneath that, like grief, like anger. So sometimes the nervous system goes into freeze when it's not able to carry out that boundary setting. So sometimes there's grief, there's anger, there's some other emotion underneath the dullness that wants to be known. Dullness can be one of the more challenging of the hindrances, because it's kind of this blanket over things. And because our nervous system response of freeze is actually a very heightened state. It's when we're sort of giving up on the fight flight and we're kind of going into collapse. And so I think this dullness can be really supported by a very gentle approach, little by little. How is it to breathe a little more deeply, or to look around, open the eyes, to stretch or stand up, to let this energy just move gently, coming into a little bit more of regulation. And in Thanissara's words, this essence of the dullness is like a wish for not being, annihilation. So in the words of the Buddha, it's vibhavatanha, which means a thirst for not becoming. Just, have you ever experienced something where, like deep embarrassment, you just don't want to be there, you don't want to be around. So that sense of annihilation, but in Thanissara's words, the true annihilation is when we realize the deathless nature of awareness itself. We realize our true heart, to awaken into this deep, non-separative consciousness that is the essence of Kuan Yin, that is the essence of the heart nature. And so that's the evolutionary impulse of the nihilism that might arise, or the dullness that might arise. The restlessness, the anxiety, the sense of always trying to get somewhere else. I think this sometimes is a flight response. It's like trying to get away, trying to deal with overwhelm, then manifesting in the nervous system, being trapped in the nervous system. Something that needs to move through, that needs to be released and is being held. As human beings, we don't release in the same way that wild animals do. We don't necessarily run after being startled or shake after being startled. But sometimes that can be helpful. Again, a sense of what does the restlessness need? Possibly, again, needs more safety, needs to slow down. Sometimes when I notice that I'm really stuck in anxiety, just trace back the few days that have come before. It's like, oh wow, I just did way too much. Schedule was way too full. And now my system is just stuck in this overwhelm. I need a break. I need some space. The system needs to recalibrate. That's that energy of that flight response. And in the words of Thanissara, this restlessness is not knowing our refuge. The heart, the mind that trusts in planning, in anxiety and worry, in grasping onto what we could have done or what should have happened, that can't find that sense of stability. It's a mind that wants to evolve into refuge, that wants to know that what's the truly trustworthy placement of our energy, channel for our energy, is to trust in awareness itself, in that Buddha nature, the awakened mind-heart, to trust in the knowing, to trust in the being with the somatic response, to trust in belonging, to trust in Sangha. And the doubt, I think sometimes this is a coping strategy. This doubt is a coping strategy, again, going to the cognitive, trying to figure it out when we've had to exit our body, dissociate from the body for whatever reason, which often we do have to when the world is overwhelming. So it's an evolutionary, it's a biological response. But we might quickly go to the cognitive and then try to plan, decide, is this right? Is this trustworthy? Is this the thing? Should I do that? This mind that's always going back and forth. The Buddha described this like an ox chasing its tail. And so again, this learning to begin to trust in the intuitive knowing. And this is also Thanissara's words, this essence, that the moving from the cognitive to awareness itself, to being the knowing. It's the teaching, to being the knowing, to resting in the heart, to reading the book of the heart, to trusting in intuition. It's going to be very hard to do because this is not our cultural training, or it was not mine. oh, just trust your intuition. It's like, no, figure it out, right? Intellectually. And yet, when we go beneath that cognitive, often there's a knowing, there's a deep intelligence of the body, of the heart, that we can access and that can nourish, can calm the mind that doubts. And I think within all of this, maintaining a deep respect, a deep regard for the nervous system, for the coping strategy, for the survival response. This is natural. This is how we got through, how we might still need to get through at times. So we don't have to, again, be in a hurry to get rid of, to suppress, to ignore, to make wrong when the mind is spinning in meditation. We can read the book of the heart and see that the hindrances are potentialities, opportunities, teachers. They're inviting us to transform, to transmute, to evolve, to ultimately awaken. So let's close with Om Mani Padme Hum. We'll chant it together, and then we'll share the blessing of our practice. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. May the merit of this gathering, may the parami of our practice together, of our individual and collective effort to awaken, to cultivate kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, to better understand ourselves and the world around us. May this radiate out, above, below, and all around, particularly to those in places of struggle, of war, of challenge. May the hearts and minds of all beings be touched by the spirit of kindness. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.